Welcome to the Breakaway USA daily news show with Gentry Jeevers. This is a better daily news show. We got a couple amazing stories today. We're talking about if Mark Cuban potentially is running for president, and Secretary of State Mayorkas is up on the chopping block again. So, big day for news. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. The first story we're going to talk about is Mark Cuban. Is he running for president? He made a couple very interesting moves recently. Over the weekend, he actually sold a majority stake in the Mavericks for $3.5 billion. Now we have to applaud him for his business prowess, because I think he paid just under $300 million for it in around 2000. Now he's selling it for a majority stake for $3.5 billion, which, I mean, kudos to him. Apparently he is still in charge of basketball operations there. I mean, he's got an amazing relationship with the team. He's kind of pioneered the like a new way to be an owner, just being very in the media, all that kind of stuff. To be honest, I love Mark Cuban as the basketball guy, as the Shark Tank guy, as the entrepreneur. He also has decided to step away from Shark Tank, and he cited reasons that he wanted to be closer to his family as his kids are growing up and potentially going to be leaving the house soon to go to college, all that good stuff. But it does beg the question: what are Mark Cuban's real motives here? His real goals? Because in order to run for president, you do have to liquidate and sell a lot of your businesses because of the conflict of interest, right? We saw that with Trump as he handed over the reins to the Trump empire to his sons, Eric and Don Jr. So it's a very interesting time. Let's talk about Mark Cuban and some of his policies, because some of the stuff that he does, I'm actually a big fan of, and some of the stuff that he talks about, I'm actually not. So obviously, with his close association to the NBA, we know that there's a lot of Chinese involvement there, Chinese overreach, and so there's really a big potential that he could be caught up in a lot of that. I mean, there was a lot of speculation back in the day that LeBron James was owned by the Chinese. That's why he couldn't make some of the stances that he made. He had to retract some statements. So there's always that question. And whenever that question comes up, you have to explore it, right? Because we've seen with the Bidens how they have had some incredible ties to China that we didn't explore really fully, or maybe we couldn't explore really fully until he became president. So there is some questions there. He is working on a company called Cost Plus Drugs, which, to be honest, I think is a really good idea. Basically, he's getting generic drugs and selling them for basically at cost, which is undercutting the drug industry, which, as we all know, Big Pharma is one of the biggest enemies of America. So I like what he's doing there. I like his business acumen, right, where he's solely focused on making more money. And I think that's what we need right now in America, is someone like that. Obviously, some of his other policies aren't necessarily the best. We have some questions on his loyalty as far as nations go, right, with China, all that kind of stuff. He's been very critical of Trump, very critical of Elon and X, which is the best free speech platform available. So we do have some questions around his allegiance to free speech. We'll see if and when he does run for president, we'll see some of those things come out. But definitely some interesting moves here from him. In my mind, you don't necessarily have to sell the Mavericks to spend more time with your kids. you wouldn't like. I understand Shark Tank because, from my understanding, the filming is intense for 2-3 months, and you're basically just working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week when you're filming a show like that. So it definitely makes sense that he would leave Shark Tank to be with his kids. But we'll see what happens with the rest of his businesses as it gets closer to the election, because as we know, Mark Cuban, because of Shark Tank, has ownership in a ton of businesses, right? It may not be controlling interest, but especially with cost plus drugs, if he does go ahead and sell cost plus drugs or move out of a leadership position there, I think it'll be a really clear sign that he could run for president. And that begs the question, could Mark Cuban beat out a Trump character? Could another candidate beat out Trump? There was some speculation a few weeks ago, as The Rock was getting on the Joe Rogan podcast, that he potentially could run for president as well. Now, I love The Rock. I love him as a movie star. To be honest, I'll go watch a movie if The Rock is in it, because I love his acting. Maybe I won't go see Moana, right? I still haven't seen that yet, but not quite 100% sure about his policies. All of his stuff that he does off the screen, for example, the Maui fundraiser, where he did a weird video with Oprah raising money for Maui in the same week that Oprah was, speculated to have something to do or benefit from the Maui fires, right? Plus these folks are worth, hundreds of millions of dollars. Oprah's worth billions of dollars. You don't think that they could have just donated that money and just said, hey, like, let's just donate this? So there's a lot of questions about The Rock, a lot of questions about Mark Cuban. In my opinion, I don't think that a guy like The Rock or Mark Cuban or really anybody else that's running on the Democratic ticket could beat Trump, just because of the MAGA base and how strong it really is. In my view, the silent majority is waking up in a big way, and they're coming out in numbers. They're coming out in droves. And one of the reasons I think that is because of the online chatter that I'm seeing on X and Instagram and Facebook and basically all the platforms. People are starting to speak up. People are not afraid to say what they need to say. But obviously we do need more people to take a stand. Let me think. Donald Trump, when he decided to run in 2015, I think he had a lot more popularity than a Mark Cuban. I think he did. And he definitely rolled with the punches, right? He didn't have a very good past as we saw, but he definitely rolled with the punches. One of the things that Mark Cuban has said on a podcast recently is that anybody who runs for president now is going to have all their dirty laundry like rolled out, and you can run with the punches, but how's that going to be for your family, right? Because from my understanding, Mark Cuban's family is pretty tight knit. I don't know otherwise, but I would say that he's probably a pretty good dad, and he may not want all of his past endeavors to come up, which I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. But a lot of speculation around if Mark Cuban is going to run for president. We will be right back after this for the next story. we are very excited for that show, by the way, that Fabian is going to put on. He is an amazing investigative journalist. He is going to blow some people's minds, and I hope that his content goes super mega viral because it's helped me in my endeavors, and it's just going to be a great show all around. So, but this is breaking from this morning. Benny Johnson is reporting just under 20 minutes ago that Marjorie Taylor Greene, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, is introducing articles of impeachment against Secretary Mayorkas. Now, he's been under fire for a lot of things recently. Number one, the border, right? It is a total disarray. We're not quite sure if he's doing anything there, but one of the reasons why he's under fire here is because of his allegiance to Palestine. Now, it's very interesting. He has been he's been very wishy-washy on this. The sentiment from the White House and the Biden administration has been, we're going to stand with Israel, but then they go and send money to, or they unfreeze money to send to Iran. And it seems in a lot of ways that they're trying to tiptoe this line and call for ceasefires and not necessarily do anything about the clear threat that Hamas is. There's a video from Josh Hawley that I want to pull up where he's grilling Mayorkas on a staffer who put up a very inflammatory Instagram post, and basically what he's asking is, so the Instagram post was a picture of the Hamas hang gliders, right? And the idea was that a Mayorkas staffer was campaigning or throwing support behind Hamas, which I don't know if anybody on either side of this issue is pulling for Hamas, right? There's some people that are very sympathetic to the Palestinian people, but I don't think anybody is really going for Hamas. Now, there's I'm just so confused by this issue, by the way, right? I'm unbelievably confused by this because it's very clear that Iran is funding Hamas, and Hamas is a terrorist group that thinks that it is okay to wipe out the Israelites, right? To wipe out the Jews, right? From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free is basically a call for genocide. And I don't understand how anybody could be pro-Hamas, right? In my view, if you are pro-Palestine, you're really ignoring so many things. That you're ignoring so many things, right? Number one, the Palestinian people have voted for Hamas, right? Apparently, they have a 64% approval rating with the Palestinian people. Okay, that's number one. Number two, their charter basically says kill all Jews. That's what it says. Now, obviously, we know that the feud runs very, very deep, and there's a whole bunch of complicated and undeniable things that have happened in the past. But as it stands right now, today, I don't know how anybody could get behind Hamas. They're worse than ISIS. They don't think that rape is bad. They don't think that any of these horrific crimes are bad. There's phone calls of kids calling their parents, Palestinian kids calling their parents, gloating about how they killed Israelis. It's just mind-boggling. And so I really hope that this measure passes in the House and it goes to the Senate, it probably will be dead in the Senate, to be honest. But I hope that Marjorie Taylor Greene gets the votes that she needs to get Mayorkas out of this, because we can't have a Palestinian Hamas sympathizer as Secretary of State. Because as we've seen in the past couple of years, we've had millions of people come to the border, and we've seen protests all around the U.S. for Hamas. In fact, today in my hometown, there is a walkout of some of the schools in this area for Palestine. And they're chanting the thing, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. It boggles my mind. It really does. Now, this example from the Seattle area is, it could be unique. It could not be unique. Let me know in the comments. But these guys are upper middle class, right? Their parents work for Microsoft, Amazon, Starbucks, all of these really big woke companies. And they don't really know what their kids are being taught, or they're okay with their kids being taught this really weird stuff. And the teachers are in on it too. These in my I just wish that these kids could maybe take a field trip to Gaza and see what it's really like. Go take a trip to Israel and see what it's really like. I think it would change their mind a lot. But going back to the Mayorkas story, sorry, I'm all over the place. I hope that he gets impeached. It's long overdue. I hope that Marjorie Taylor Greene has the votes, and I hope that more and more people see the craziness that is the Biden administration. I think that there's a lot of people potentially who are not Biden enthusiasts, but they just dislike how the Republicans are going about it. And they don't necessarily understand the all-out war that we're in. It's a political war. It's a legal war. It's an ideological war that we're in. And we're not necessarily throwing punches, but we're throwing pieces of legislation out like this to try to win. And I applaud Marjorie Taylor Greene for her fortitude, for her relentlessness. I think it's quite amazing. Anyway, we'll be right back after this. All right, we have another bonus story here. Leading report is saying that 267,000 more Republicans than Democrats voted in the 2020 Arizona general election that Kari Lake lost. I'll read that again. 276,000 more Republicans than Democrats voted in the 2020 Arizona general election that Kari Lake lost. That is coming from the forensic reports that we've been seeing on the election fraud from 2022 and 2020. Now, it's coming a couple years late, but I want to kind of help paint the picture here. So I've been following the election fraud in Georgia, right? We've been seeing that Dominion has failed to count upwards of 25% of votes in this last 2023 election, which begs the question, did that also happen in 2020 and 2022 and even before that, right? So I'm really glad that we're digging into this election fraud stuff. So with the 2020 presidential election, there's a lot of people who are saying, hey, well, it went to court and they didn't find anything, so there's really no fraud. But that's not really true, is it? So it did go to a lot of courts, and the judges didn't even want to hear it at all. They basically refused to hear it. because they were owned, they were Soros judges, whatever the case may be. And so a real fraud case really has not been it has not been heard in court. And there's a ton of fraud cases that are popping up. Let me go here to 2020 in Georgia. Leading report also says that vote recount in Georgia shows Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger failed to report the results of the 2020 election, originally lied about the mistakes, and then collaborated with the Attorney General's office to cover it up. That's in Georgia. Here is another story. Trump supporting MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell is promising that a new ruling in Georgia will expose everything and vindicate those like him who have made claims about election fraud. Now, I'm praying that this happens, right? I'm praying that this gets exposed for what it is, right? It's very obvious that there was a lot of election fraud. There was a red wave that we were promised. And I think that potentially it could have happened if there hadn't been so much fraud, right? But I also want to take a step back, okay? Because a lot of conservatives, a lot of Republicans are trying to spread this notion that because there's so much election fraud, that we shouldn't vote at all. And I want to reiterate this. I don't think it can be said enough. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. If we don't vote, Democrats don't have to cheat. I'll say it again. If we don't vote, Democrats don't have to cheat. And if we show up in droves and vote more, it's going to be harder for the Democrats to cheat. I think a lot of reason why these election fraud cases are coming up is because it became increasingly harder for them to cheat. Increasingly harder, right? 267,000 more people voted in the primary for Arizona. There was a red wave, but the Democrats cheated. And it's harder for them to cheat. It's harder for them to cheat when we come out in droves because the numbers are so much bigger. And this is proof right here. I've been saying this for 3 years, 4 years maybe. And now I'm being proven right. I wish I wasn't right, but I'm proven right. And this is a call to action to everybody to go see this story and read it for what it is. It's not a story to demoralize you. It's not a story to say, oh, I was right about fraud. It's a story to help get people into a place where they say, oh, there actually is being a lot of fraud uncovered. And one of the reasons why is because Republicans are coming out in droves to go vote. They are. And I think in 24, one of the messages from every conservative outlet, every conservative influencer, every conservative commentator, you, me, everybody should be go out and vote in droves. Because the more Republicans go out and vote, the harder it is for them to cheat. And we're seeing it play out. We're seeing it play out. I really love that Carrie Lake and Ken Paxton and Mike Lindell and all these other guys who are coming out and really fighting this fraud. I'm really happy that they're still fighting for us. And one of the ways that we can help go show support is by reporting on it, talking about it, making sure that other people understand how to look at these reports, to not lose hope, but to say, hey, something's happening. Something is happening. And to all the people who are saying nothing is happening, no. Look at this. This is happening. When the people are proving us right, that's what's happening. This is an information war. And part of the battle that the Democrats have is to use information to get us to lose hope. Hope deferred makes the heart grow sick. Okay. But stories like this renew people's hope, renew people's vigor. When the truth gets out, it's always a good thing. So I want to be really, really clear. This is not a story to get you down. This is not a story to have you lose hope. This is a story that should fire you back up so you can get out there, so you can keep fighting. The more and more that the truth gets out, the more and more we will win. And I know that it's taken a long time. And I know that patience isn't necessarily a virtue that most people have in droves. But I feel like patience, right? If you go ahead and define patience, it's not necessarily sitting twiddling your thumbs. It's more of a, what do you do while you're waiting? Right? What are you guys supposed to be doing while you're waiting? Are you supposed to be just spreading negativity and spreading discord? Or are you supposed to be saying, hey, this is a good idea. This is a good story. The truth is getting out there. We're actually winning. Slowly but surely, we're winning. And just because we lost in 2020 and 2023 doesn't mean that we can't win down the road. And one of the ways that we're going to win down the road is we expose all of this election fraud on both sides, right? Let's expose it all. I don't think that Republicans are cheating just because Democrats are winning, right? But let's expose all of it. Let's get all the truth out. Let's take all these bad actors down. Those are my thoughts on all this election fraud. Don't lose hope. We're winning. Share the story with people. Share the story. Help them understand what it means. Because it's not just we're losing because they're cheating, blah, 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 blah. No. The fraud is getting exposed because we're coming out and voting in droves, right? Don't lose heart. Keep it up. We're winning. That's all the time we have for today, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. If you've watched this far, don't forget to like, subscribe, share this show with someone else. We got a lot of big things coming, and I'm really excited for what the future has in store for us. Thank you so much. My name is Gentry Jeevers, by the way, and we'll see you next time.